Greetings! My name is Brad Hessel, and I am chair of the Wake County Libertarian Party, here with the August Chair Report, what we did to advance the state of liberty in Wake County in July of 2025, and what we're planning for August and beyond. So July was a pretty eventful month from the point of view of the North Carolina General Assembly. They had just finished up their long session as the month started. They took some time off, and then they came back at the end of the month and worked on overriding some of the record 14 vetoes that Governor Josh Stein put in place. And I think he's way ahead of where Roy Cooper was at this point in the 8 years that Cooper was governor in terms of vetoes. So probably with respect to our priorities, well, they didn't fare that great, to be honest. Certificate of Need is probably our number one, more precisely rescinding our Certificate of Need regime in North Carolina. Certificate of Need is essentially a healthcare rationing system that originally was intended to improve the quality and availability of services in rural areas. It was enacted originally in the 70s. By the 80s, it was clear it wasn't working. And nevertheless, by that time, some of the powers that be in terms of the larger healthcare providers had recognized the fact that it could be used to build a protective moat around potential competitors. And so they kind of liked it, and we've kept it all this time. In fact, we now have one of the most draconian Certificate of Need regimes in the country in terms of the number of services that it affects and regulates. So we'd like to see this go away. That would increase competition and increase the supply of services and reduce the cost. A bill to do exactly that did pass in the Senate, but it did not pass in the House, and it doesn't look at this point like it's likely to happen this legislative cycle, although there is an outside possibility that the provisions of that bill could be folded into a larger budget bill and kind of sneak in the back door that way. So we got to keep our eyes on that possibility. Also, there's constitutional carry. That fared a bit better in the sense that the Senate enacted it and the House enacted it. And then Governor Stein used one of his 14 vetoes to veto it. This week, the Senate overrode that veto. However, the House did not take a vote on overriding the veto of constitutional carry, probably because the votes to override don't exist. And so it's not looking so great for that either. With respect to our other priorities, electoral reform, well, gerrymandering or redistricting reform, of course, is totally aspirational. We've been talking to legislators about it. In fairness for independent voters, has sparked a little more interest, but there's nothing legislative happening with respect to that at this point. With respect to instant runoff voting, ranked choice voting, we actually are facing a potential retrograde situation, things moving backwards. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Also in July, we were active in outreach with respect to some of these issues. With the con rescission situation, we held an event in Tobacco Road on I think it was the 16th of July. We had a speaker come from the John Locke Foundation by the name of William Allen, who talked about the history of the Certificate of Need regime in North Carolina, how it got started, how it has persisted, the effects that it was supposed to have, the effects that it actually had, which are pretty much the opposite, and the prospects for either eliminating it entirely or ameliorating it. So we'll put a link to that. If you didn't make that particular event, it was recorded, and we'll put a link to the recording in the comments. Also, we were at a couple of other events sponsored by other organizations for the purpose of canvassing for instant runoff voting, ranked choice voting. Namely, there was a North Carolina Democratic Party sponsored event rallying against HB 958. As I mentioned, there's some potential retrograde action here. One of the provisions of 958 would be to ban ranked choice voting in North Carolina. This is purely performative, and it's not possible for a city or a county to run a ranked choice voting election at this point, because you need permission from the North Carolina General Assembly to do it. And the banning it would have literally no effect on the ground in North Carolina. The only difference would be that if you wanted an exception for Wake County, you'd have to have another sentence in there saying that, okay, this is an exception to the provisions of 958, which I should mention has not passed either house yet. And in fact, some of the other more draconian provisions have been ameliorated or even dropped from the bill in its latest version, but their ranked choice voting ban is still there. So that's a situation we got to continue to monitor. Also, we're working, speaking of ranked choice voting, we're working on refining exactly how we want to approach that. We know the general strategy is to promote allowing it in county and municipal elections, but there are some wrinkles in terms of, well, for example, if we had ranked choice voting on every election in Wake County, the ballot would be somewhat longer and would take more time to fill out. So those are issues. And also the voting machines currently, while they will count ranked choice voting results, they don't help you. The software doesn't have the capability of actually adjudicating those results. There is software that does that, not currently in use. And so we need to really solidify what the process would be for getting there, so that we can, when we go to our local government officials and elected and appointed officials, we have something concrete for them to suggest to the General Assembly in terms of moving forward on that issue. So that's a work in progress. Also in July, we sent out our letters to defrocked former registered voters who formerly were in the Justice for All, We the People, Constitution, or No Labels parties. All of those voters were forcibly, or I should say involuntarily, converted to independence late in June. So we sent them a letter detailing all of the ways that the Libertarian Party and their party are in agreement on a lot of things, and the letter was customized for each one of the four parties. This is a snail mail letter, obviously. It also included a copy of our trifold, which includes a handy chart showing the differences contrasting the difference between libertarian positions and Democratic and Republican positions. It's a nice educational thing there. And a rack card, one of our rack cards that includes contact information for us. So if folks are interested, they could follow up. And those letters went out to all, I think it was 50 formerly Constitution Party registered voters, 90 JFA, Justice for All voters, and 140 We the People voters. There are 3,400 No Labels, former No Labels voters in Wake County. We sent this to 1,000 of them, and we're kind of waiting to see what kind of response we get to see if it's worth spending the money to do the other 2,400. Preliminary results, pretty reasonable. We did get a bump in registrations. We haven't downloaded that list yet to see if that's just coincidence or if those are actually people that we sent letters to. And we've also had an increase in our website traffic. We'll know more in a few weeks. So that's pretty much it for July. Looking ahead to August. Our focus in August, the number of outreach things that we're planning. The first of which is to to contact all 80 candidates running for office in 2025. There are no registered libertarians on the ballot in Wake County in 2025 running for local office. But we do have 80 candidates, including some from Durham and Angier. Those cities do actually extend into Wake County in a minor way. So we're going to be sending those folks an email asking them to respond to fill out the world's smallest political quiz. If you're not familiar with that, that's a 10-question, 2-minute survey that asks 5 economics questions and 5 social questions. And as a result of the answers, and you answer yes, maybe, or no, whether you agree or disagree. And as a result, you'll see where you are on the spectrum with respect to authoritarian versus libertarian. So, as you probably know, in Wake County we have a tradition of touting candidates, non-libertarian candidates, who support libertarian issues, have a libertarian perspective. And we're utilizing the World's Smallest Political Quiz to help us identify candidates who'd be good prospects for this in 2025. Now, if you're interested in helping out, if you're interested in learning about the candidates who are going to be on your ballot in your municipality, we want to follow up with these folks, that's the ones who respond, and about 50% of them will respond based on past experience. We want to follow up with these folks and ask them about some local issues because, of course, the World's Smallest Political Quiz is just national issues. So if you're interested in talking to some of the folks that are going to be on your ballot, learning about what their positions are and, getting yourself somewhat known, this would be a really helpful project. We'd love to have somebody, from Garner asking the Garner candidates rather than, somebody from Raleigh asking them questions. If you're interested, we'll put a link in the comments so you can let us know that you're interested, and we'll get you wired up to do that. Also, if you're interested in the World's Smallest Political Quiz, the questions have changed a little bit. If you haven't filled it out recently, or if you've never filled it out, it's a fun little way to spend 2 minutes. We'll put a link for that as well. And I should have mentioned, also, we are recruiting for people who would be interested in getting involved with their local city council in the sense of monitoring what's happening with that body, or potentially a citizen advisory board, a local citizen advisory board for your municipality, or a countywide board if that's whatever your interest is, in terms of monitoring what's happening with them as well. So this can be someone, if you're interested in actually representing the libertarian point of view, you don't have to run for election. You can basically get appointed to a lot of these boards just by asking to be on it. They're volunteer positions, and would give you an opportunity, as I mentioned, to represent the libertarian point of view. Or you can just, be a fly on the wall. In fact, you can monitor most of these meetings remotely via Zoom and just report back to us. The intelligence about what's happening in these local communities is extremely valuable to the party. So you'd be doing us a great service, and hopefully it'd be of interest to you to learn about what's happening in your local community. So if that's of interest, again, link in the comments to let us know, and we'll get you set up. And then finally, we are also recruiting for candidates to run for office for North Carolina General Assembly or any other office in 2026. We do try to have as many candidates on the ballot in Wake County as possible, just to let the voters know that we're here and that there is an alternative to Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And so this is an opportunity for someone who would like to represent the libertarian point of view. The news folks will listen to you. You'll get surveys you can fill out to represent the libertarian point of view. You can go to candidate events and talk if you want to, and there'll be other candidates there, and the voters that are present can compare and contrast you guys. Or if you would just want to be a paper candidate, if we don't have someone who's interested in running actively, having someone on the ballot is helpful. So you can do that too. If you're interested, please check out the link in the comments. So that's our report for August 2025. I will note that the weather forecast for tonight, they're talking about temperatures in the 60s in August in Wake County. This is great, right? We've had this horrendous heat wave, so this is a welcome respite. And another welcome respite for you might be coming to one of our Wake County meetups. We meet every Wednesday night at Tobacco Road. They have good food, they have good libations, and the conversation, of course, is great. We do talk politics from time to time, but it's a social event, and we're usually more often talking, movies or sports or social stuff or philosophy, archaeology. Lots of topics come up. So anyway, 7 p.m. Tobacco Road, West Jones Street, any Wednesday night. Look forward to seeing you there, or next month for the September report. Thanks for listening. Keep 'em flying.